In a world obsessed with perfection, curated images, billionaire weddings, designer gowns, and picture-perfect relationships, sometimes the most extraordinary love stories begin in the most ordinary of places. Not in a five-star resort, not on a red carpet, but in line for a bathroom. That's where a young man named Mark Zuckerberg met a girl named Priscilla Chan. He would go on to become one of the most powerful tech billionaires on the planet. She was the daughter of poor Vietnamese Chinese refugees, raised in a working-class town outside of Boston. And yet, against every stereotype, every social expectation, and every media criticism, their love endured. Not only endured, it became a story that quietly redefined what real love looks like in the modern world. Priscilla Chan was born in 1985 in Braintree, Massachusetts, into a family that had risked everything to escape war and depression. Her parents fled Vietnam by boat, seeking refuge and a better life in America. They arrived with no English, no money, and no connections. What they did have was grit and a dream for their children to succeed. Growing up in Quincy, Massachusetts, Priscilla didn't have the privileges her classmates had. While other kids played after school, she was helping her grandparents translate utility bills. She learned early how to carry responsibility, not because anyone told her to, but because survival demanded it. Her parents worked non-stop, first in a small restaurant, later selling wholesale seafood, often too exhausted to guide her through the complexities of American education. But that didn't stop her. Priscilla excelled. She was known as the genius of her class, a robotics team standout, a varsity tennis captain. Still, none of it came easy. She was walking blind into a world her family had never entered before, the world of elite academia. When she got into Harvard, she became the first in her family to attend college, a milestone that wasn't just personal, but generational. And yet, even there, in one of the most prestigious institutions in the world, she often felt like she didn't belong. Surrounded by wealth, legacy students, and social polish, she questioned if her presence was a mistake. She considered transferring out. But a moment changed everything. While volunteering at a community health center, she met a young girl with broken front teeth, ignored by the system. That encounter lit a fire inside her. She realized she wasn't just at Harvard to get a degree. She was there to gain the power to fix things, to fight for those who had no voice. That moment solidified her dream, to become a pediatrician, a healer, a protector. It was sometime around then, at a college party, that she met a guy standing awkwardly in line for the bathroom. He was holding a beer and made a bizarre programming joke that only someone equally nerdy would get. She laughed. He noticed. They talked. There were no sparks flying, no slow-motion glances, just a quirky, intellectual connection. That guy was Mark Zuckerberg, the same Mark who would go on to create Facebook and change the way the world communicates. At the time, he was just another awkward computer science major with big ideas and bigger social discomforts. But something about Priscilla struck him: her warmth, her quick wit, her groundedness. She didn't try to impress him. She didn't need to. They started dating slowly, quietly, in the middle of their hectic student lives. While he stayed up building code and dreaming of a platform that would connect the world, she balanced organic chemistry labs, volunteer shifts, and late-night study sessions. Their dates weren't fancy. They ate dorm food, walked around campus, and studied together. It wasn't glamorous. But it was real. When Mark dropped out of Harvard to focus on Facebook, their relationship was tested. They came from different planets. He was entering a world of power, fame, and unimaginable wealth. She was on a path of service, science, and care. And yet, they stayed connected, grounded in values they both held close: hard work, humility, curiosity, and purpose. As Facebook exploded, so did media attention. And soon, the world began to notice Priscilla, not for her brilliance, her ambition, or her heart, but for how she looked. Western tabloids asked why someone so rich would marry someone so plain. Asian gossip sites criticized her appearance. Why her? They asked, again and again, but Mark never blinked. He stood by her with unwavering confidence. In one famous response, when asked why he didn't marry a more traditionally beautiful woman, Mark said, "I've met many conventionally beautiful women, but many of them had hearts like glass, fragile, high maintenance, and focused on superficial things. Priscilla is different. She's strong, wise, compassionate, and real. She's not a status symbol, she's my partner." In 2012, after nearly a decade of being together, Mark and Priscilla married in their backyard in Palo Alto. Only 50 guests attended. Most thought they were there to celebrate Priscilla's graduation from medical school. There were no paparazzi, no luxury brands. She wore a modest wedding dress. He gave her a sapphire ring he designed himself. Their honeymoon wasn't a glamorous escape. They went to Italy, and famously, ate at McDonald's. One media outlet mocked him for not tipping. But Priscilla didn't need grand gestures. She married the man, not the myth. And he, in turn, valued her not for how she looked in a dress, but for who she was when no one was watching. Their journey into parenthood wasn't easy. Priscilla suffered multiple miscarriages, silent heartbreaks they endured privately. When they finally welcomed their first daughter, Max, in 2015, Mark wrote an open letter to her, promising to dedicate his life to creating a better world, not just for her, but for all children. They later welcomed 2 more daughters, August and Aurelia. And, though the world was curious, Mark and Priscilla chose not to show their children's faces on social media. They believe in letting them have a real childhood, one free from the pressures of celebrity. At home, they are a normal family, at least as normal as a billionaire's household can be. Mark cooks. He reads bedtime stories. He teaches his girls how to code. Priscilla oversees bath time, homework, and hugs. They share chores, argue about dinner, and raise their kids like any other couple, grounded in love, respect, and intention. But their impact stretches far beyond family life. In 2015, the couple made one of the largest philanthropic pledges in history, committing to give away 99% of their Facebook shares, then worth over $45 billion, through their Zuckerberg initiative. Their focus? Education, healthcare, science, and equity. Priscilla leads much of the work behind the scenes, managing teams, shaping vision, and advocating for data-driven, compassionate solutions. She also founded a tuition-free private school that integrates early childhood education with prenatal healthcare and family support. In every way, she's not just the wife of Mark Zuckerberg. She is a visionary in her own right. In 2024, Mark commissioned a 7-foot silver-green statue of Priscilla, unveiled privately but quickly picked up by media. Some called it excessive. Others called it romantic. For Mark, it was simple. He wanted to honor the woman who had been with him before the billions, before the boardrooms, before the fame. The one who saw his soul when no one else did. Today, after over 20 years together, they are still going strong. And they've quietly proven something radical. That real love, the kind that endures miscarriages, criticism, imbalance of power, media mockery, and unimaginable wealth, isn't built on status. It's built on shared values, mutual respect, deep friendship, and a commitment to grow together. Mark once said, "Marriage is like a pair of shoes. Only the one wearing them knows whether they fit." And maybe that's the truth we often forget. The world can judge, assume, speculate, or criticize, but only 2 people ever really know what their love is made of. For Mark and Priscilla, love was never about appearances. It was about substance. And in a world obsessed with filters, algorithms, and attention, perhaps the most revolutionary thing they've done is choose to be quietly, beautifully real. And if this story touched something in you, maybe it reminded you of the kind of love that matters, the kind that doesn't need to be loud to be powerful, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Because we need more stories like this in a world that sometimes forgets what really counts. If you made it this far, thank you. You're exactly the kind of listener we create these stories for. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Leave us a comment below. What does real love mean to you? We read every word. Until next time, take care, love deeper, and remember, the most extraordinary things often begin in the most ordinary places.